All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So, good morning and welcome everyone. My name is Megan Erickson, and I am a nutrition field specialist with SDSU Extension. We are excited to have you join us for week 2 of our May virtual self-care series. Last week we had Hope Klein talk about getting active outside. If you missed it, you should have received a recording link to the session for you to watch when time allows. For today, Megan Jacobson will be discussing how you can make the best lunchbox ever with providing some make ahead lunch ideas. And before I introduce Megan, we would like to get to know each of you a little. So if you would, please put your name in the chat box. And also, if you packed a lunch today, what is something we will find in your lunchbox? So we'll go ahead and have you start typing in the chat box. And I would like to welcome and introduce Megan Jacobson. She is a registered dietitian and nutrition field specialist with SDSU Extension. Megan is the program coordinator for South Dakota's suite of chronic disease self-management workshops called Better Choices, Better Health. She enjoys helping people manage and prevent chronic diseases through proper nutrition. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box, and we're going to go ahead and get started. And Megan, I am going to go ahead and turn the session over to you.
Great, thank you, Megan. And hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I'm excited to see what everyone packed for lunch today. I love that question. So I will keep an eye on chat. So keep up that discussion. I see we have a couple comments already, so that's fun. So today, like Megan said, I will be building upon our nutrition theme for this year's self-care series, which really focuses on healthy meal prep and emphasizes incorporating vegetables during every meal. So Megan focused on breakfast last time. So today I'm going to talk about lunch, and I'm going to start with addressing some of the potential barriers and things that may get in the way of meal prepping lunch. And I also want to review the benefits of prepping lunch ahead, and then end with a recipe I hope you guys will all enjoy. And before we get started, since you're already in the chat, I want to get a feel for everyone who's on today. If packing lunch is something that you do, if it's a habit that you have, or maybe you do ever so often. So just type a yes if you pack lunch, even if it's not every day, if it's just something that you try to do, or a no if you've never done it or never thought about it, or just have something at your work or your office where you eat and you don't have to prep or pack ahead. So a yes or a no in the chat. I would love to see where you guys are at before we go ahead and get started. And then also, if you want to, especially if you have not packed lunch or if it's not in your routine, if you can talk about kind of maybe any barriers that get in the way for packing lunch, or kind of what your schedule looks like so that you don't have to pack a lunch. Because these are all important things to consider as we look at all of our different lifestyles and how we can look to maybe incorporating a healthy lunch. Okay, so I'm just going to peek in the chat quick. So we have a lot of yeses and a couple no's. So this is good. We have a variety of people joining today with a background in meal prep for lunch. This is really, really great. Thank you guys so much. Okay, so so the question, what's for lunch? It can either be great and feel great if we have someone asking us who wants to go out to lunch, and you know, it can be kind of a fun thing to do with a coworker. But if it's something that we're asking ourselves, it can be a dreaded question if we're maybe in the middle of a busy workday with no prior prep or planning. because a lot of our schedules can be very busy, and this can have a major impact on mealtime stress. So that can, for a lot of us, can be a really dreaded question is, oh no, it's lunchtime, or maybe it's past lunchtime and I haven't eaten and I don't have anything to eat. But I think that we can all agree, with our hectic schedules, that healthy eating a lot of the times will never be the default. And so if we do find ourselves in that crunch time and we haven't done any prep or planning, a lot of the grab and go, or maybe what our tummies are telling us we're craving, is not necessarily the healthiest of options. But what we can control and can accept is the importance of setting ourselves up for success. We can, just acknowledge and know that we'll be pulled in a lot of different directions during, throughout the workday. And if you just kind of think about your work-related duties, or maybe your school duties if you're a student, would you go into something without a plan and hope it would all turn out smoothly? Probably not. So the same goes for our lunches. You can think about it that way. So we all kind of need a plan to put good lunch making into action. So today I'll talk about ways to prepare some tasty lunch ideas in advance to help us avoid maybe that morning mayhem or craziness that can happen when we try to throw something in a lunch bag, or kind of that afternoon desperation for finding a quick meal. So here on this slide, it just kind of showcases how packing our lunch is just a great way to help improve our diet. So the dietary guidelines for Americans reported that more than 80% of Americans have a dietary pattern that are low in vegetables. This probably isn't surprising to most of us. We've probably heard this before. However, prepping and packing lunches helps us eat more vegetables and oftentimes less fat, calories, salt, and sugar than if we were to, go through a fast food place or grab something at a gas station or just one of those grab and goes options. So packing lunches is a great way to get in those vegetables if you're one of those, like many of us, who just don't get enough throughout the day. The second is that eating out can really add up quick financially. So if you think about purchasing a $9 lunch, for example, 4 times a week, this adds up to around $1,700 a year. So buying groceries, especially those on sale, if you kind of do some prior planning, can really help you save money in the long run. And then lastly, what you eat impacts how you feel. So fueling our bodies with nutritious foods help us energize, helps us feel more awake and energized to do, our work duties throughout the day, and we don't get that crash in the afternoon. It can really have a big impact on our focus and our mood, and just really supports our overall well-being. Okay, and then on the next slide, here are some important things to keep in mind to help you master your make-ahead lunches. So the first is prioritize planning. So think about your week ahead, and you can use a planner to write out maybe your schedule or your family's schedule, write in any work functions or kids' sporting events, or maybe some social meals or team meetings, or maybe any other commitment that will run over your lunch. And this setting time to kind of review your schedule really helps outline those boundaries for you to work around in planning your lunch. And then you can also consider your energy reserves. So if you know that the end of the week gets extra busy, maybe plan a simpler lunch or make extras the night before so you can grab leftovers. So just looking at your schedule ahead and even listing it down, writing it out, can really help you feel prepared for the week. Also, stock up on some Lunchbox Essentials if you don't already have them. So maybe this means purchasing like an insulated lunch bag and making sure that there's enough room to pack all your food and beverages that you want to bring along. If you need to maybe stock up on any plastic or glass containers, get a variety of different shapes and sizes, and ones that are reusable so you can continue to use them and kind of have them on hand for whatever meal you pack. And then maybe think about some other accessories you may need depending on what you have at your work site or your school site for lunch. So maybe you need to purchase a water bottle to keep with you, or any utensils, or maybe a freezer pack. Really thinking about all of those and considering all those aspects can help you feel prepared when you're packing lunches. And then lastly, just making it a lifestyle change. So if prepping lunches is a priority, if it's something that you really want to do, then you can do it. Just set that plan to accomplish it. However, if it feels overwhelming, maybe just try making small, realistic goals. So start where you are. And that may mean buying a lunch bag. For example, if you don't already have one, it's like, oh man, I'm not even prepared to, pack a lunch. I don't have the things I would need. So maybe the first step is just going out and getting a nice lunch bag. Or maybe it's finding some simple, healthy recipes that you really enjoy. So it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think that's really important. A lot of the times, if we go to Pinterest and we see all of these beautiful recipes and packed, really cutely, I think about, I have 2 young kids. And so I know there's a lot of fun, like lunchbox recipes with like sandwiches cut into stars and like all these fancy things. And that can be really fun, but a lot of the times that's just not realistic. And your lunchbox isn't going to look pretty all the time, and that's okay. Consistency is really just more important because the more consistent you are with your habit, the more it will come naturally. And then once you have kind of a comfortable rhythm, then you can add those fun things in if you want to. But just don't make it overwhelming. Okay, so on the next slide are some things that you can also consider. Probably the most important question is, when do I make ahead these lunches, or when do I meal prep? So kind of a rule of thumb is avoid the morning. Things can be really hectic in the morning, and it's just nice not to have that one more thing to do or to remember as you're walking out the door. If you just think about, if you already have maybe a prepped and packed lunch already in the fridge, maybe already in its lunch bag, how nice is it to just go open the fridge door, grab it, and go? It can feel like less of a burden. If we put that expectation on assembling all the items and packing it, making sure we have our freezer bag, our utensils, our water bottle in the morning time, it can really feel like a burden, and we're probably not going to do it or continue to do it. Also, a good thing that a lot of people find helpful is setting aside time, maybe the night before or on the weekend. So depending on when maybe you get your groceries would be a great time. If you go grocery shopping on Sunday, you bring everything home, you can cut it up, chop it up, prep some lunches for the week ahead. Or perhaps you do maybe like a batch cooking of a meal and you have a lot of leftovers. And then you can kind of separate those leftovers and spread them throughout the week for your lunches. That's a really great idea. And then lastly, just incorporating it into your weekly routine. So if you use a planner or a calendar, making sure you write in time to meal prep. And so just like anything else that we set as a priority, putting it in the calendar will help us remind that we need to do it, and then it becomes that habit. Okay, so before I share a great go-to lunch recipe with you, I want to touch briefly on what makes a balanced lunch. Balanced lunch. That's kind of a tongue twister. And if you'd like to kind of refer to some components as you're packing your lunch, you can refer to these 3 components. The first is carbohydrates. So these are our body's preferred source of fuel. And sources of carbohydrates include things like fruit and whole grains or breads, our legumes and beans, any milk products or starchy veggies like potatoes, peas, and corn. So those are our fuel. So it's important to have those, especially at lunch, right before we may hit that afternoon slump and feel kind of tired. Making sure we have good fuel is really important. The second is protein. So protein is so important for muscle growth and recovery, and it helps slow digestion, which is really great for controlling our blood sugar, and it makes us feel fuller longer. And great sources include meat, fish, beans. A vegetarian option of protein is like tofu. Also, your nuts or your seeds, dairy or milk alternatives are also great sources of protein. And then lastly, veggies. So we talked about veggies and how we all kind of don't get enough in our diet. So including veggies in our lunch is very important as just as breakfast and dinner. So these really just provide additional vitamins and minerals along with a great source of fiber. And preparing veggies in advance allows you to add them to lunches without the added stress of having to cut them in the morning, or maybe if you like to cook them too, that takes an extra step. So the more you can plan ahead with your veggies, the easier it is for us to eat them. Okay, so now I will share with you a recipe that is called bootables. And so if you've heard of this, it's kind of like a new menu item out at restaurants, but essentially it's just kind of a twist on the salad. But it highlights some really great components that you can throw in the salad, and it's a super flavorful addition of all these ingredients you see here on the screen. And I just really love this recipe because essentially you can make it however you want it, and it could not be easier to get in all your veggies and all your great and healthy ingredients. So to start with your Buddha bowl, you want a base of grains. And so you can see here, aiming for about a cup of cooked grains. And here listed is just some nice ideas, but you can shoot for whatever grains sound good to you. So to start, you're going to build your base of that 1 cup of grains, and then really regardless of the rest of the ingredients that you put in, overall, you can kind of aim for your bowl to have about 25% grains, 50% vegetables, 20% lean protein, and then 5% or the rest kind of any herbs or spices or toppings you want to throw on. So you can start by cooking your grains and letting them chill. So set those aside as you prepare your other items. And you can kind of get a large portion of your recommended daily vegetable intake just within this Buddha bowl. So for vegetables, it's really whatever you have a taste for, whatever you enjoy. But you can see here on this slide that there's a list of some ideas. And for vegetables, you can add them in raw, or you can saute them in olive oil. I'll be sharing a video of the lunch that I prepared, the Buddha bowl that I prepared. You can see that I did saute a few of the veggies that I added in. And then you can look at your protein foods. And so great items for protein include like tofu or fish or beans, lean meat. This is a great option for if you have leftovers. You can grab your leftover protein, whatever it may be, and throw that on top as well. And then you can see here too, don't forget a healthy fat. And so if you like seeds or nuts, also avocado slices are a great option to top on for your healthy fat. And then any spices you like, and any sauces as well. So if you're like me and don't love to follow a strict recipe, I just love to dump things in a lot of the times and base it on my taste. This one will be really fun for you to experiment. So I will let Megan advance the slide and you guys can see my take on the Buddha bowl that I created. I see that I made someone hungry in the chat, and I will agree with you that that made me excited for lunch. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And with that, I guess I'll turn it over to Megan to wrap us up for today.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Yeah, I'm already making my grocery list because that looks good. And I think I'm going to try it for next week for lunch. All right. At this time, we do have a few minutes for questions. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask Megan directly.
I will know as you guys are thinking of a question. So the ingredients that were left over, I did pack them separately. And so if you have I had a lot of quinoa left over. And so I did put that in a separate container and didn't make, even after I packed like 3 of those Buddha bowl salads for this week. And so those separate leftovers can be incorporated into other recipes throughout the week, which is great. The avocado does turn a little brown throughout the week. It's still okay to eat. But if you splash a little lemon, that can help with it turning brown. But just make sure whatever container you have it in, I have it just in a glass container, and I push down the lid, kind of helps seal it even more to keep the air out. And that can really help if you have a tight seal. But yeah, all of those ingredients should last pretty well throughout the week. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy and have fun in the kitchen. And yeah, just don't make it stressful. I know that I had fun putting together the video, but goodness, not all of my salads look that pretty. So yeah, whatever tastes good, and there's plenty more of those Buddha bowl recipes that you can find online for other ingredients that taste really good together too. So.
All right. I am not seeing any questions in the chat. But yes, thank you all for joining us today. We hope that you learned something new that you can take with you. And we hope to see you next week, where we will learn how to relieve stress with some relaxing outdoor activities. We hope everybody has a great Friday, and we hope to see you again. Thanks for joining us, everyone.